I couldn't do it without them.
Probably says a lot about your supervisory skills too, by the way.
I
You
hope
know,
so.
people who have great friends, they have great friends also because they're good friends themselves. So,
Thank you.
um, let me ask you a little bit about. It's not uncommon in the stories that successful women have shared with me that there is a moment where their health was at risk. Did anything like this happen to you, and what was that like? And how would you advise young, ambitious women entrepreneurs to pay attention to their health?
That's an interesting question. So I actually would say that physically, I'm very lucky that I've had good health. From a physical, I really prioritize working out and fitness and health, which is really important to me. And I think is a large part of why I'm able to do as much as I do and have the energy that I have. I'll say that mentally, right before I started the law firm was when I was most concerned. I felt such an identity crisis. I was
Mm-hmm.
a new mom. I had left my law firm job without knowing what it is I was going to do. I had had a series of very toxic bosses that sort of rattled my confidence. And I think that was frankly before starting it, I would have been much more worried about where I was mentally than when I actually did it. I felt
Mm-hmm.
this huge sense of relief that even if, it didn't work, I was trying.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I had been able to create the identity and feel more of a sense of identity as a more well-rounded person. I felt like at that time, my sole focus was just mom, and I was losing so much of myself. And mom is a very important part of my identity, but it's not my whole identity. And I think I was losing that when I had left my job and was kind of freelancing, and, the kids came first.
Mm-hmm. 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 How has your upbringing made it harder or easier for you to master a mindset for success?
So, haha, you like that exhale?
Just to take a small topic.
Yes. My upbringing is a very complicated subject that could probably be many podcasts. However, there is one thing that my parents did ingrain in me that I have taken with me, and that was always the notion that no matter what happened in my life, no matter where I was or what I was doing, I'd always have my brain. This was something my mom and dad always told me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that I could always, I think in their own way, were trying to say, to teach me to be self-reliant,
Mm-hmm.
and to not rely on anyone. And so that will certainly come back to me when I feel alone as an entrepreneur, or, I feel like the weight of the world. It is always the memory, like, you've got this, you can do this, you know what you're doing. And I think that has been hugely beneficial.
Especially during moments of difficulty, I would imagine too.
Yes, it is a good reminder.
Mm-hmm. I We talked a little bit about before we met on the podcast about how you don't necessarily listen to what your competitors are doing, and I wonder if you could share with our listeners why that sometimes is, what that does to kind of protect you from feeling not knowing, not to question of who you are.
I feel like there's always enough room for everybody. No matter who you are or what your business is, there's space for everybody. You, your competitors, the people who think they're your competitors, but maybe actually aren't. Or
Right.
even the people you think are your competitors and may not be.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with that notion and that belief that there's just room for everybody, I kind of don't care what they're doing because there's space for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm just myself, if my message is my clear message and comes from within, that's going to resonate true. And that's going to come clear to the clients that make sense for my law firm and for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I am just myself, I follow my gut, I drown out all the background noise, which is all the various podcasts and books and articles and everything telling you about how to run a business. And I just go with my gut. And then when I don't know an answer to something, I hire a professional to help me
Mm-hmm.
within my business. it's just proven to really focus me and give me like the clarity that I need, instead of getting so bogged down in all of the research and the worrying and the thinking that somebody else's offering is going to take away from my offering. Because at the end of the day, I am me, and there's no replacement of me or the services that we offer. We are who we are, and that's what makes us unique.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it also means that you're less scattered, right? Because when you have all these worries and all these different things going on of books and suggestions and everything, it's important to be able to just focus on what you do and stay there.
Oh yeah, stay in your lane is one of my biggest sayings. Like, you just stay where you are. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing. Don't worry about what they're saying or their marketing or what you're supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. Do what you feel like you need to do. It makes all the difference.
I think it's such a great recommendation to those young women out there that are starting, not to get bogged down with what everybody else is doing. I think that's great.
Yeah, and there's a difference between also being worried so much about what everyone else is doing and finding a really amazing mentor or an icon or somebody that you look up to, particularly when you're starting out. Those are great resources, mm-hmm. far different than spending time and effort and energy with all of the noise that is created these days.
Good for you. Totally agree. In our last 2 minutes, if you had to tell me what the top 3 things a female entrepreneur needs to be successful, what would those be?
A thick skin. I think a really amazing, I want to call them an advisory board. And what I mean by that is community, a community that you can trust. And that can be 1 or 2 people. I'm not talking about 100 people, just truly people that have your best interests at heart, that can be a sounding board, because it does take a village, even if you run your team alone. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think that you also need resiliency. So understanding that failure will happen. I have failed multiple times. I will continue to fail. Things will go wrong. Mm-hmm. But being okay with it, being able to sort of pick yourself up, learn from that failure. You can cry about it too. It's totally fine. Mm-hmm. But not living in that sadness or fear, and just kind of pushing forward to continue on.
Great. All really great recommendations. I want to thank you so much, Jamie, for sharing with our listeners today your motivation for why you chose to be a female entrepreneur, and also how you overcame some of the psychological struggles that you encountered during your inspirational journey. Where can people reach out to learn more about your work?
Thanks for having me on. I actually very much love this topic, so I'm excited you've dedicated a podcast to it. My website is #allspelledout-legal.com. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook, although Instagram is my favorite social media channel. So you can find us there, #spelledout_legal.
This podcast is brought to you by Women Entrepreneurs Global, the first startup studio and digital DIY startup platform for women. For more information on her guests, this podcast, and many other female founder programs, please visit womenentrepreneurs.global. We believe in open and non-stigmatizing dialogue about the hidden psychological difficulties experienced by many successful entrepreneurs, and highlighting the strategies used to overcome them, such as the fear of failure, of not being good enough, and that loud, chattering internal critic is critical to helping other founders achieve success. Please join her next week for more Mindset for Success stories. That was Dr. Leslie Knudsen, and you can drop her a line at dr.leslieKnudsen@dr.leslieKnudsen.com.